President Muhammadu Buhari asked the United Arab Emirates to suspend visa ban on Nigerians. The Central Bank of Nigeria insists on February the 10th deadline in currency redesign policy plus. The International Monetary Fund and Pakistan resume talks virtually for bailout funds. Hello, this is News Live in Viewer Television. I am Ambassador Jesse. President Muhammadu Buhari has waded into the diplomatic situation between Nigeria and the United Arab Emirates, which led to a visa ban on Nigerians wishing to travel to the Middle Eastern nation. The Emirate authorities in October 2022 slammed a blanket visa ban on Nigerian travelers, excluding those carrying diplomatic passports. Though the UAE did not specify its reason for the decision, some adduced the blanket visa ban on the misbehavior of some Nigerians living or working in the country. However, during a telephone conversation, President Buhari spoke to his UAE counterpart, Sheikh Zayed Al Nahyan, who doubles as the Emir of Abu Dhabi, on lifting the ban. Buhari's conversation with Sheikh Al Nahyan was contained in a statement by his senior special assistant on media and publicity, Malam Garbashihu. The federal government says it has started the process of declaring 111 historical sites in the country as national monuments. The Minister of Information and Culture, Lai Mohammed, disclosed this in Abuja at the 26th edition of the President Muhammadu Buhari administration scorecard series. The minister said that the process of declaring the sites as national monuments had reached an advanced stage and awaited the presidential assent. According to him, when the 111 national monuments came on board, they would be added to the existing 65. Mohammed also disclosed that the Buhari administration had published the first edition of Nigeria's national festival calendar. Nigeria has recorded 216 diphtheria cases and 40 deaths, according to the Nigeria Center for Disease Control and Prevention, the NCDC. Lead of the Diphtheria Practices Technical Working Group, NCDC, Dr. Bola Lawal, confirmed that the confirmed cases were reported in 4 states: Kano, Yobe, Lagos, and Osun. According to the World Health Organization, diphtheria is an infection caused by the bacterium Corynebacterium diphtheriae. Signs and symptoms usually start 2 to 5 days after exposure and range from mild to severe symptoms, often come on gradually, beginning with a sore throat and fever. Lawal said that the majority of deaths were recorded in Kano State, while Lagos State recorded 2 deaths. The Kano State Peace Committee has expressed concern over the increasingly violent attacks among political supporters in the state. This is contained in a statement by the Secretary of the committee, Ibrahim Waya, and released to newsmen on Tuesday. Waya said the committee had observed with dismay that the recent peace accord signed by 8 political parties, governorship candidates in the state, had been grossly violated by some party supporters, with violent clashes in recent times, especially at Ambata, Makoda, Ruminkebe, Mandawari, Rigir Lunu, and other local governments. According to him, the Peace Committee is very much disturbed by this emerging threats to the peace and security of the state. As the 2023 general elections approaches, the Nigerian Army, in collaboration with other sister security agencies, have commenced a 3-division operations planning cadre in Bauchi aimed at addressing security challenges in some parts of the country. In his welcome address, General Officer Commanding 3 Division Nigerian Army Major General A.B. Ibrahim says the aim of this seminar is to make sure that junior and middle level cadres are up to date with temporary security issues and how to respond to some challenges. Our Bauchi State correspondent Awal Hassan completes the story.
Addressing Nigeria's security challenges requires a multi-sectoral approach. especially now that many dimensions of insecurity have continued to emerge.
Militancy in the south, insurgency in the northeast, banditry and terrorism in the northwest. Each form of insecurity has its own peculiar set of challenges requiring individualized training for security personnel operating in various zones.
In a quest to address some of the security challenges in the country, there is the need for proper planning, part of which is equipping the security personnel with the knowledge of contemporary security issues.
So this is to make sure that junior and middle level commanders are up to par with contemporary issues and how to respond to all these challenges. Additionally, in let's say next week Saturday, the junior elections begin. How do they react? How do we ensure that we have free, fair and credible elections? So all these things are the objectives we're going to carry out.
Hence, the lectures in this cadre are particularly crafted to provide security personnel operating in the North Central and Northeast regions for operation with the necessary tools for facing security challenges peculiar to these regions.
The General Officer commanding 3 Division Nigerian Army, Major General A.B. Ibrahim, who was represented by Major General Eyitayo Oyinlola, however, charges the participants to make use of the presentation sessions and be interactive.
To all participants in general, I urge you to take keen interest in all the presentations during this cadre. The lecture on junior leadership should be of particular interest to young officers who are deployed in various locations across the North Central and Northeast theaters of operations. I further urge you, all participants from diverse backgrounds, to be objective in your contributions during the interactive session.
Awal Hassan, Viewer TV News, Bauchi.
When News Live returns, the governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Godwin Emefiele, says there was no need to shift the February 10th, 2023 deadline. Details of this and more come to you right after the break. Stay tuned.
Fragrance, the new luxury fragrance for men and...
Pararam pra reparar, estão ouvindo esse som, pulsando seco no ar, merece nossa atenção. Preparem bem os sensores para poder captar parem usinas motores.
Welcome back. If you're just joining us, this is News Live. A recap of our top stories. President Muhammadu Buhari asked the United Arab Emirates to suspend visa ban on Nigerians. The Central Bank of Nigeria insists on February the 10th deadline on currency redesign policy. Plus, the International Monetary Fund and Pakistan resume talks virtually for bailout funds. The governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Godwin Emefiele, says there was no need to shift the February 10th, 2023 deadline. Emefiele disclosed this during a visit to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs to discuss the monetary and currency redesign policy of the bank. This comes as the Supreme Court earlier restrained the federal government from implementing the February 10th deadline for the currency swap. A 7-man panel of the Apex Court, led by Justice John Okoro, in a unanimous ruling, granted an interim injunction restraining the federal government, the Central Bank of Nigeria, and commercial banks from implementing the Friday terminal date for the old Naira notes. However, the CBN governor insisted that there was no need to shift the deadline. A senior advocate of Nigeria, Femi Falana, has accused the Central Bank of Nigeria of flouting the interim injunction of the Supreme Court suspending the implementation of the February 10th deadline on the use of the old banknotes. Following the redesign of the 200, 500, and 1,000 Naira notes, in November 2022, Nigerians tripped to various banks to deposit their old currencies in line with the initial January 31st deadline, which the Apex Bank later extended to February the 10th. However, an interim injunction granted by the Supreme Court on February the 8th restrained the CBN from carrying out the implementation. But Falana, who made a live appearance on Tuesday, said the government was not ready to comply with the order. A federal high court sitting in Lagos ordered the remand of an actress, Oluwa Darasimi Omoshin, in a correctional facility over abuse of Naira notes. Justice Chukwu Jeku Aneke remanded the actress after pleading not guilty to the 2 counts charge brought against her by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission. EFCC alleged that whilst dancing during a social occasion, she tampered with the sum of 100,000 Naira issued by the Central Bank of Nigeria by dancing on same at the said occasion. Her offense was contrary to and punishable under Section 21, Subsection 1 of the Central Bank Act 2007. The judge ordered Omoshin to be remanded in Kirikiri Female Section of the Nigerian Correctional Service, NCOS, till February the 15th, when her bail application will be heard and determined. Ahead of the 2023 general elections, the Labour Party movement continues to gain momentum in several states as professionals for Obi Datti presidency grassroots mobilization hit the streets of Kaduna to show support for their Labour Party candidates. Members of the group took turns to address their electorates and urged them not to sell their vote, but to thumbprint on the Labour Party logo in the 2023 general elections for the actualization of a better Nigeria.
Valentine rally, bringing all Obedience in Kaduna State together. march towards Ahmadu Bello Stadium. We are fully prepared. As you can see, all the polls that have been done so far has put our party ahead of all other parties. And you can see us on the street also. See the number of people that are with us. So this election is ours, and we are going to win the election from top all through to all of our candidates.
Every Nigerian has experienced what is going on, and we know that vote buying has been Labour Party does not buy votes, and we cannot advise people to buy votes. And I know that all Obedience have decided that we are not going to buy votes, so they cannot buy our votes. We are also sensitizing the public, the candidates themselves, that they should not buy votes.
I believe with the president, we are voting free to have a board. Definitely change the narrative. And we're going to push to make sure the common man see the light of day once more again. Breathe in fresh air of hope.
The Kaduna State Labour Party gubernatorial candidate Jonathan Asake also assures the electorate that integrity, which forms part of his watchword, will not be abused, as he vows to fill the missing links if elected governor of the state.
As topmost on the agenda, the insecurity has become the problem of everybody. Farmers can no longer go to farm, and schools have been closed down, churches have been closed down, mosques have been closed down, businesses have been closed down, and you can just imagine the suffering, the poverty that people are going through. And so my leadership will definitely tackle that, because I've experienced it, I have seen it, and I will live by my words.
Meanwhile, Kaduna State correspondent Micah Monday also engaged eligible voters on the street to get their thoughts on who is competent and deserves to be the next president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
The leader has failed us. Among all the leaders, they had the opportunity. Second chance, second expression does not matter. Why would you express for the first time? We want to go with Obi because we believe that he feels our pain.
We are tired. We are tired. Killings everywhere. No sincerity. Particularly our constitution. I advise our leader of today, they should stick by our constitution.
Omnia Institute for Contextual Leadership has organized a one-day interfaith and inter-party workshop towards eradicating violence before, during and after 2023 general elections in Nigeria. The workshop, titled Electoral Integrity and Strengthening Democracy, drew participants across party and religious lines in Gombe State to chart a course for a more peaceful Nigeria after 2023 general elections. Our correspondent Christopher Luca was there and now completes the rest of the story.
The history of elections in Nigeria is riddled with violence and tension that often left whole communities displaced, traumatized, and edging the country closer to the brink of disintegration. In order to maintain the fabric of peace and quiet that communities enjoy, Omnia Institute for Contextual Leadership organized this workshop to underscore the role of interfaith peacemaker teams in driving the message of peaceful coexistence before, during, and after elections.
When we fight because of election, after election, what next? So we want to have a situation where our country, our societies, our communities coexist peacefully with each other so that we can gain the dividends of democracy.
2 weeks to Nigeria's general polls. These participants, drawn across political and religious lines, are expected to amplify and democratize what they have learned in their communities.
For me, this is ultimate, because if we live in peace, everything else will work. But if there's no peace, nothing else will work.
Seriously, this workshop is one of the best workshops so far. At least to encourage my people. When I go back, at least I want to highlight all my people, sit with my youth, my women. Already we have started doing this.
Peace is just like charity. It starts at home. So we mobilize people and tell them to be peaceful in their homes, in their communities, and at large in every area they come from. We need peace all over the world.
The Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, and National Orientation Agency, NOAA, say Omnia Institute for Contextual Leadership deserves commendation for their contribution towards the peaceful conduct of 2023 elections in Nigeria
I believe Omnia is doing a good job in trying to make sure that interfaith bodies come together and make sure that there's peace coexistence during the election, even after the election. And I think it's a very good innovation. I believe that it will go a long way if the people that have been trained here would do the good job and cascade it down to the communities that in the villages to help them understand that violence does not breed anything positive.
It's a very good thing for Omnia to do that, because here we have traditional leaders, we have women group, we have religious leaders, we have the youth organizations, and so on and so forth. So as I've said earlier, I told them what you will learn here is not for yourself alone, but it's for you to go down and step it down to grassroots.
As a front runner in the promotion of peaceful coexistence, Omnia Institute for Contextual Leadership hopes that opinion leaders, party faithful, pastors, imams, and other elder statesmen at the workshop will continue to preach tolerance and peaceful coexistence for Nigeria to have peaceful elections in 2023 and beyond. Christopher Luka, Viewer Television News, Gombe.
In Bauchi, Abubakar Tafawa Balewa University Teaching Hospital reveals another breakthrough in its clinical activities, having successfully conducted hundreds of brain surgeries. In an exclusive interview with Viewer Television, the head of surgery department of the hospital, Dr. Salihu Makama, says the acquisition of modern equipment now sets the hospital at a whole new level of endourology operations. Here is our Bauchi State correspondent, Awal Hassan, with the details of this.
Brain surgery conducted by a consultant neurosurgeon at the Abubakar Tafawa Balewa University Teaching Hospital in Bauchi. ATBUTH, head of surgery department, Dr. Salihu Makama, says this is one out of hundreds conducted in this hospital.
If I say, in fact, I think it's hundreds, in hundreds. The brain surgery is in hundreds, so that is just what I can tell you, and of various types, even the pediatric age group, people, some children born with big head hydrocephalus, they used to do shunts, on them, and then even open brain surgeries to evacuate maybe bleeding, intracranial bleeding into the head because of accidents, some tumors, of the brain, the neurosurgical unit, actually they are doing very well, and I think they are handling that aspect of surgery.
These and many other complicated series of surgeries are made possible by the acquisition of modern equipment at this hospital.
Well, depending on what you do, depends on the extent of equipment at your disposal. I know that in urology units, which I belong, we have been doing so many minimal access surgeries or endoscopic surgeries, we have been doing transurethral resection of the prostate, endoscopically without opening passing, bladder tumors, bladder cancers, we do cystoscopies, and take biopsies, and then again, we remove foreign bodies, in the bladder, in the ureter, stone crushing without opening patients. And then we are going to the next level, actually, with the acquisitions of modern equipment, for urology unit. We are going for full endourology, operations.
The Abubakar Tafawa Balewa University Teaching Hospital, Bauchi, is aiming to advance the cater for its community and discourage medical tourism.
With these ones, we will be very much comfortable, to, in fact, compete with what is being done elsewhere, and by so doing, we are going to reduce remarkably this medical tourism that people used to go out, to other countries, Egypt, India, China, and even the Western countries, Europe and whatever. So with this one,
this hospital also provides a conducive platform for teaching and learning, and this is how the students learn.
The essence of this, one, for protection,
Awal Hassan, Viewer TV News, Bauchi.
You're still watching News Live on Viewer Television. Business, international, and entertainment news come to you right after the break. Do stay tuned. Now in business news, the Chief Executive Officer of Financial Derivatives Company, Bismarck Rewain, says Nigeria may suffer a gross domestic product loss of $18 million monthly owing to the negative effects of the Naira redesign policy of the Central Bank of Nigeria. Ruwan spoke during a recent presentation at the Lagos Business School, according to a report by Newsman. The chief executive disclosed that the total man-hours loss in a month will be 120 hours and total GDP loss in a month will be $18 million. He also attributed the decline in the GDP growth to the reduction in velocity of money in circulation. One further reveals that trade is settled mainly in cash and POS, although 70% of trading transactions are settled by cash, and concluded that a decline in the velocity of circulation could reduce output in the trading sector. The governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Godwin Emefiele, has threatened to arrest and jail POS agents charging above 200 naira cash withdrawal. Emefiele said this during a visit to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs to discuss the monetary and currency redesign policy of the bank. The CBN governor further said that the POS operators can come to the CBN to be compensated for any extra cost incurred in getting the new notes rather than charging a higher fee on customers. He said that there was no need to shift the February 10th, 2023 deadline. Recall that the Supreme Court had earlier restrained the federal government from implementing the February 12th deadline for the currency swap. Nigeria is aiming to export 16.2 million tons of liquefied natural gas in 2023, a report by the Independent Commodity Intelligence Services has said. According to ICIS, Nigeria's LNG exports depreciated in 2022, falling 15% compared with 2021. It also disclosed that the expectation of Africa restarted LNG import in 2022 failed to materialize due to the soaring cost of LNG following the start of the war in Ukraine. According to ICIS, the floating power plants of Senegal and Mozambique are unlikely to switch to gas-fired generators. The report also said that the government foresees the operation of the country's gas liquefaction plants at total capacity throughout 2023. The federal government says it has uncovered monumental debts of approximately 5.2 trillion naira. The Director Special Project Federal Ministry of Finance, Budget and National Planning, Victor Omota, stated this during the Northwest Sensitization Workshop organized for personnel from various ministries, departments and agencies, MDAs, on federal government debt recovery drive through Project Lighthouse program. Omota, who was represented by his deputy director, Mohammed Saidu, said the debt is being owed by over 5,000 debtors across 10 ministries, departments and agencies. According to him, the ministry, through the consolidation efforts of the debt analytics and reporting application, has been able to aggregate monumental debts of approximately 5.2 trillion naira. The director, however, solicited for the support of the participants drawn from various MDA across the zone in providing quality and relevant information to populate the platform in order to realize the goals and aspirations of the laudable project. And now on the foreign scene, the African Union Commission has announced that it would be sending a 90-strong observer mission to Nigeria for this month's election. Africa's most populous country goes to the polls on February the 25th, but has been plunged into crisis in the run-up to the vote with dire shortages of cash and fuel. The African Union Election Observation Mission is being headed by former Kenyan President Uhuru Kenyatta, who helped broker a deal to end 2 years of war in northern Ethiopia and is mediating in the conflict in the Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo. The AU said the objectives of the mission were to provide an accurate and impartial assessment of the electoral process, offer recommendations for any improvement in future polls, and demonstrate AU support towards consolidation of democracy, peace, stability, and development in Nigeria. Pakistan and the International Monetary Fund have resumed their talks virtually with Islamabad, hoping that the discussion will help it ease pressure on the country's ailing economy. Islamabad's Finance Secretary Hamad Sheikh told newsmen that the duration of the talks cannot be confirmed, but intend to finish the talks at the soonest. The South Asian country had held talks with the IMF for 10 days in Islamabad from January the 31st to February the 9th, but both didn't reach a deal. Though IMF in a statement said that both have agreed to stay engaged in virtual discussions in the coming days to finalize the implementation details. The talks between the two focused on the 9th review of IMF's extended fund facility arrangement with Pakistan that was concluded in 2019. The IMF also highlighted the key priorities discussed, which included increasing revenue, reducing untargeted subsidies, and scaling up social protection programs. A 43-year-old gunman killed 3 students and wounded 5 others at Michigan State University before an hours-long manhunt ended with the suspect's death from a self-inflicted gunshot. Authorities said investigators had no idea why the suspect went on a shooting rampage on the campus in East Lansing, Michigan, about 90 miles northwest of Detroit. Jim Taraska, special agent in charge of the FBI's Detroit office, said at a briefing. He confirmed the gunman had no known affiliation to the university. The gunman was identified as Anthony Dwayne, said Chris Rosman, deputy chief of the Michigan State University Police Force, at the morning briefing. Details about the sequence of events remain sketchy, but Rosman said shots were fired in 2 locations, an academic building called Berkey Hall and the Michigan State University MSU Union Building. And now in entertainment, the world celebrates Valentine's Day. Billionaire heiress and disc jockey DJ Cuppy has shown off the massive gifts she received from her fiancé Ryan Taylor. Taken to her Instagram page, DJ Cuppy showed off a bouquet, a love card attached to it, some chat and foot fetishism. On the card, Ryan Taylor affirmed his love for Cuppy while noting that they will spend the rest of their lives together. The card reads, "To the love of my life and my soon-to-be wife, we will be together for the rest of our lives." J-Time sensational Afrobeat lyricist, rapper, and instrumentalist has launched Sweet Stars Entertainment into a scalar higher attitude with the release of his debut EP, Sweet Vibes. His fans got so thrilled about his buzzing single released in 2021, Come To Me, produced by J-Time with an astounding YouTube views sailing over 1 million and counting. His song with BNXN also ushered in a sporadic increase in the fan base as supporters showed fervent interest in the involvement of the brand. He has become a force of reckoning, which in recent time the release of the EP further expedited the flow sequentially. After spending nearly $24,000 on cosmetic surgery to change himself, a socially awkward recluse who was terrified to approach women claims he is now fighting them off. Marcelo Cantu was so painfully shy in his younger years that he could not even look at a member of the opposite sex without turning bright red. The businessman from Las Vegas had a non-existent social life and was desperate to improve his confidence. So in a bid to turn things around, Marcelo decided to change his appearance and flew over 7,000 miles to Turkey for extensive plastic surgery. And that's all a newslight. But before we go, a recap of the headlines. President Muhammadu Buhari asked the United Arab Emirates to suspend visa ban on Nigerians. The Central Bank of Nigeria insists on February the 10th deadline on currency redesign policy plus. The International Monetary Fund and Pakistan resume talks virtually for bailout funds. Many thanks for watching. I am Ambassador Jesse. Please stay tuned and enjoy the rest of our programs.